Hi guys, this is Miss Reed and welcome to Body Paragraph Writing 101 for English 9 College Prep. For homework tonight, I'm going to ask you to watch this video that gives you some notes on body paragraph structure. This is going to set us up for a week's worth of in-class activities. Tomorrow, we're going to take a look at a sample body paragraph and we are going to highlight the different components that we're going to discuss in the video today. And we'll also go over any questions that you guys might have from watching this video or from doing that activity tomorrow. Then you're going to be writing a practice paragraph for homework. And we're going to use this practice paragraph for the following day in class when we do a little bit of peer editing. While we peer edit, we're going to be using a checklist to make sure that we have all of our components of our body paragraph hamburger. Our final product, our assessment, is going to be a formal paragraph that you guys are going to write and submit for turnitin.com for a grade. So let's get into this body paragraph hamburger. I think it's really important to have a visual. We used a visual for introduction writing. We talked about how introductions are like a funnel. So we labeled the funnel with our components. We're going to do the same thing for body paragraphs using the hamburger. So before we get into what each component is all about, let's just label the components. So our top bun is going to be our topic sentence. So I want you guys to write topic sentence on the line here. You can give a nice little arrow to the actual bun that we have on our visual. And if it helps you, you can actually write down the component right on the burger itself. Then we move on to the tomato. For our tomato is going to be context for our quotation that we choose to use as evidence. So you can label it on the line, give yourself a nice little arrow, or write it out. When we move on to the lettuce aspect of our body paragraph, that is going to be an embedded and cited quote. So you can write this on the line. And then we can move on to our burger, which is our most important part. It is the meat of our paragraph. And that is going to be our analysis, so our kind of deep critical thinking about the text. After we're done with our analysis, we're going to move into our bottom bun to wrap it all up. And that's going to be our concluding sentence. So if you label that last part here, you'll be good to go. So take some time, make sure you have everything down on the lines. If you would like to do your visuals and label the hamburger itself, you can take this time to do that. So pause the video, get ready, and then we're going to talk about the different notes that we're going to do. All right, for the next part where we actually talk about the notes, I'm going to transfer into laptop mode. I'm going to no longer be in tablet mode because I'm not going to be writing anything down. And I'm going to reveal some notes for you here. So I kind of originally had written everything in white ink so that I'd be able to make it appear for you. So here we go, topic sentences. When we write a topic sentence, we are focusing in on a single idea that's grounded in the text. And that idea needs to help prove our thesis statement. You guys remember about thesis statements from when we did our introduction paragraph writing. So the whole of the paragraph is going to be based on the idea that you're writing about in your topic sentence. You want to make sure specifically that you're focusing in on a single idea. So I'm actually going to highlight that for you. A lot of people get out of focus and they talk about more than one topic within their individual paragraph. So you don't want to do that. You want to match everything in your paragraph back up to that topic sentence. The second thing I want to talk about is I'm asking you to write about an idea grounded within the text, but I don't want you to state a plot fact. So if you're writing about To Kill a Mockingbird, you do not want to say Scout and Jem went to the trial. That's not really proving an argument that we're making. That's just something that happens within the text. So you want to always double check that as you're writing your topic sentences. One other element that I want to bring to your attention is that you don't want to start your paragraph with a quotation. If you start a paragraph with a quotation, you're starting with your evidence. You're not setting up the point that's helping to prove your thesis statement. So that's just something to think about as you're structuring your topic sentences. And we'll take a look at a couple of samples tomorrow. So next I'm going to talk about the context for your quotation. So let's make this nice and viewable. And when we're talking about context for our quotation, our context for our quotation is going to set up who is speaking within the text and what is happening in the quote. If you just throw a quotation into your paragraph without setting it up, your reader's not going to necessarily understand what's going on in the story, and they're not going to be able to make that connection back to your topic sentence. So a lot of times our context quotation is just a brief setup of what's going on in the story to help your reader kind of be like, okay, yes, I understand what's happening, so I know what this quotation is all about. After we're done setting context for the quotation, we're going to move on to our lettuce step. And our lettuce step is going to be about embedding and citing quotes. So I'm going to make this nice and dark for you guys to be able to read. So the first thing is you want to make sure that you're choosing a quotation that helps to prove the idea of your topic sentence. So take a look back at your topic sentence, find a quotation that's connected, and then double check that everything is all set together. You want to embed the quotation into your own writing. We've talked about this a little bit before, and this is something that we're going to have another lesson on. But remember that we don't just want to stick a quotation into our writing as is. We call that a standalone quote. So no standalone quotes. Instead, you want to focus in on taking a piece of the quotation and bringing it into a sentence that you're stating about the quotation. One thing that you can do is actually you can use the context to set up the actual quotation itself, and they can kind of almost merge together. But we'll look at examples of that specifically tomorrow. Last but not least, you always want to make sure that you are citing, and we know that we cite using author's last name and page number. So I used Harper Lee here as an example. If we were going to quote from To Kill a Mockingbird, we would want to have her last name, which is Lee, and the page number that our quotation is from. Now to the most important part, the analysis. The analysis is the figurative and literal meat of your essay. It is what gives it its strength. So this is where you're really thinking. You want to explain why the quotation that you chose helps to prove the point of your topic sentence. So you really need to kind of think about, okay, what is my topic sentence? How did my quote connect to that topic sentence? And why is this quote so important to understanding that point? So kind of think about it. It is your explanation of how and why the quote helps to prove the idea of your topic sentence. So notice we keep re-mentioning topic sentence because it is the thing that guides us through the whole entire process.
Student Max Sevilla.
I just want to apologize, an announcement just went on, but ignore that. We'll get back into our writing. So everything kind of comes back to this idea of the topic sentence. One thing that I want you to try to avoid is I want you to try to avoid saying certain phrases. We don't want to say in this quote shows all of those different elements. It's something that you learn how to do in middle school in order to kind of help you remember that you need to be analyzing the quote. But now that we're in high school, we want to remove that kind of language. So instead of saying this quote shows that Scout has learned to have empathy, we just want to get right to our point. Scout has learned to have empathy. And then we move into the specifics of the quotation and how that quotation shows that. But we don't want to address the fact that we're analyzing the quote because your reader knows that that's what you're going to do because we always analyze our quotations. So that moves us on to our concluding sentence. The whole idea with the concluding sentence is the concluding sentence is going to kind of wrap things up for you. It's like a big bow on the end of your paragraph. You want to cover what the main focus of your paragraph was, your big idea that was presented there. So that means you're kind of going back to your topic sentence yet again. The only problem is you don't want to sound repetitive. So you want to think about how can I kind of tie this paragraph up without saying the same thing that I've already said. So that's pretty tough, but it is a nice way to kind of end things. Because you always need a concluding sentence, I want you to keep in mind that you cannot end a paragraph with a quotation, and you cannot end a paragraph with analysis of a quotation. And so this is kind of a nice little visual cue. If you're ending with a quote, with a citation, you know, oh, I'm missing analysis and I'm missing my concluding sentence. If you go and you read the last sentence of your paragraph and it's specific to one of your quotes, then that means that you don't have your concluding sentence. And that brings me to our rinse and repeat. So there's a note here at the bottom. We repeat the tomato, the lettuce, and the hamburger part of our paragraph. So I like to think of this as a double burger. And why would a person want a double burger? They would want a double burger because it's more filling. So we want our paragraph to be more filling. We want to kind of double up all of that information in that visual right there. All right, so double it up. Double up your patty, double up your quotation, and double up your context for your quotation. And this is all going to be your evidence. So we know that more than one piece of evidence is always, always, always going to be better than a single piece of evidence. So our evidence here on the text is going to be the tomato, it's going to be the lettuce, and it's going to be our burger, our most important part. So this is kind of a general overview of body paragraph writing. Remember, you don't have to fully get all of these concepts. If you have a question, I suggest that you highlight it on your note-taking handout so that you can ask tomorrow before we get into the activity. So just think about that as we're moving on through. If you have questions, I'm always here to answer. You can ask me via email or you can ask me in class tomorrow. And tomorrow what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using different colored highlighters here on OneNote to take a look at a sample paragraph and to highlight the topic sentence, the context, the embedded and cited quote, the analysis, and the concluding sentences to make sure that you can really recognize these structural elements. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in class tomorrow. Bye.